My name is Daniel Grant. I'm a staff sergeant in the United States Army, stationed out of Fort Bragg, North Carolina. I've seen war up close, dust storms in Kandahar, flashbangs in Fallujah, and the deafening silence after an IED takes out your convoy. But nothing, and I mean nothing, prepared me for the war I came home to. It was my third deployment. I'd been gone just under a year. Every time I FaceTimed with my kids, I promised them, Daddy's coming home soon. My youngest, Jake, started kindergarten while I was overseas. My daughter, Lily, turned 10. I missed it all, but I was working to give them a future. I figured that counted for something. When I landed stateside, I drove straight from the base to my house. No stops, no sleep, just that burning need to get home. But when I pulled into the driveway, something was wrong. No balloons, no kids screaming daddy, no wife waiting at the door. The living room was quiet. Too quiet. Half the photos were missing from the walls. The drawers were empty. On the kitchen counter sat a single sheet of paper. Daniel, I've moved out. I've met someone else. I'm filing for divorce. My lawyer will contact you. Don't make this harder than it has to be. No signature. Just her name typed out like it was a damn memo. Carla. I don't know how long I stood there, staring at it. Minutes, maybe hours. I was too tired to cry, too angry to punch anything. I just sank into a chair and stared at the wall. The next few days blurred. Her lawyer served me papers. She wanted the house, full custody, child support, claimed I was never home and emotionally unavailable. Said I had anger issues from combat. Funny, she never said that when she was spending my combat pay on designer shoes and vacation rentals. We were scheduled for court 3 weeks later. I didn't contest anything, didn't call her, didn't fight, let her think I was broken, that I'd just roll over like she expected. But while she was planning her new life with Travis, the guy from her gym. By the way, I was talking to people, quiet people, people with high clearance and long memories. And I was documenting every word, every timestamp, every email she thought I'd never see. I wasn't going to scream in court. I wasn't going to beg for my kids or plead for my dignity. No, I was going to let one single document do the talking for me. The morning of the hearing was calm, almost too calm. I shaved, dressed in my Army service uniform, polished every metal until it caught the light like a mirror. I wasn't there to look like a hero. I was there to remind the court and my wife who I really was. When I walked into the courtroom, Carla was already seated with her lawyer, smug as ever. She didn't even flinch when she saw me. In fact, she smiled. It was the same smile she gave waiters when she was pretending to be polite. Fake. Hollow. Her lawyer, a flashy guy in a navy blue suit, leaned in to whisper something. She laughed. I didn't respond. I just sat down, placed my briefcase gently by my chair, and folded my hands in my lap. No theatrics. No eye contact. The judge came in, a woman in her 60s with a face like stone. She nodded for the proceedings to begin. Carla's lawyer stood up and started his performance. That's all it was, a performance. He painted me as an absent father, a man shaped by violence, someone emotionally unstable due to his extensive time in combat zones. He argued that Carla had built a stable, nurturing environment for the children and that they deserved to remain with her. She sat there nodding like she believed every word, as if I hadn't paid for those kids' school supplies, as if I hadn't written letters from foxholes just to keep them feeling loved, as if I hadn't survived sniper fires so my son could play soccer on the weekends. Then she took the stand, and she delivered the final blow. Your Honor, Daniel's a good soldier, but he's not a good father. He was never around. He doesn't know the kids anymore. They barely talk about him. I've moved on. I'm with someone stable now, and I want a fresh start for all of us. There it was. Neat. Clinical. No shame. Just a knife between the ribs, twisted with a smile. The judge finally turned to me. Her voice was steady. Staff Sergeant Grant, do you have anything you'd like to add before I render my decision? I stood slowly, opened my briefcase, and pulled out a single manila envelope. Sealed. Marked. Confidential, do not disclose. Without clearance. I walked to the bench and handed it to her without saying a word. She opened it. Silence. Her brow furrowed. Then her eyes widened. Just slightly, but enough to make Carla's lawyer sit straighter. The judge's voice cut through the room like a blade. Bailiff, close the doors. No one leaves. I need military police in this courtroom. Now. Gasps rippled through the gallery. Carla's eyes darted toward me. Daniel, what is this? I didn't answer. I just returned to my seat, and waited. She wanted to play games. I brought war. The courtroom doors slammed shut with a heavy, echoing thud. Two military police officers entered from the rear, stern-faced, armed, and moving with the quiet urgency of men who don't ask questions unless they already know the answers. One stood by the main exit. The other posted up behind the judge. Panic bloomed in Carla's lawyer's face. Your Honor, what is the meaning of this? Is this even legal? The judge didn't answer. She was still reading the contents of the manila envelope, her expression darkening with each page turned. The tension was thick enough to choke on. I didn't move, didn't flinch. I'd spent years in briefing rooms where silence meant survival. This was just another kind of battlefield. Finally, the judge spoke. This court is now sealed. No one is to leave. No phones, no communication. Bailiff, remove all civilian electronic devices immediately. Carla turned to me, pale now. Daniel, what did you do? She looked around like she expected someone to stop this. Like she still thought she had control. But she didn't. Not anymore. The judge cleared her throat and addressed the room. What's in this file contains classified details regarding an ongoing joint operation between the United States Army and the Department of Homeland Security. However, in light of this court's proceedings and the accused's own petition for full custody, certain details have been declassified for the purposes of establishing relevance and intent. She looked directly at Carla now. According to these records, Ms. Grant, your new partner, Travis Elridge, was the subject of an active federal investigation for cyber theft, wire fraud, and data mining on military family support networks. For nearly 6 months, he used his proximity to service members' spouses to access financial records, movement patterns, and base security routines. The color drained from Carla's face. Her lawyer looked like he wanted to melt into the floor. You, Ms. Grant, were recorded in multiple encrypted messages arranging for secure drop locations, access to Daniel Grant's deployment schedules, and even forwarded emails that revealed troop movements. I didn't have to say a word. The documents were saying it all for me. The judge turned the final page and placed it on the bench with care. There is more than enough evidence to suggest that while you may not have initiated these actions, you were complicit. And now that this court has seen the proof, federal authorities will proceed accordingly. Carla stood up, shaking. Wait. I didn't know what Travis was doing. He told me it was just about fixing a few credit reports. I swear to God, I didn't know. The MP behind her stepped forward. Ma'am, you'll need to come with us for questioning. She spun toward me in desperation. Daniel, please, tell them. Tell them I'm not part of this. I met her eyes, finally. Calm. Cold. I told you I was done fighting. I didn't say I was done defending. The room erupted. Carla's lawyer sprang to his feet, shouting. My client had no knowledge of these allegations. This is a violation of her rights, of due process. The judge didn't blink. Mr. Callahan, your objections are noted. You're welcome to step outside after you've been cleared by security. Until then, sit down. He did, like someone yanked the floor out from under him. The military police advanced toward Carla. She backed away from the bench, trembling like the ground had cracked open beneath her. Daniel, please, this has to be a mistake. I didn't know. Her voice cracked, raw and frantic. I didn't answer. She used to beg me to call when I was deployed, plead for connection. And now here she was, begging again. Not for love, not for reconciliation, for mercy. But mercy wasn't mine to give. The MPs didn't handcuff her, not yet, but they flanked her. One leaned in and said quietly, We're escorting you for questioning. You're not under arrest yet. Don't make us change that. She looked at me again. Her lips quivered. Her pride, the armor she wore when she walked out of our marriage, had cracked in half. In its place, shame. The judge addressed the courtroom, calm but sharp. Due to the severity of these revelations, this court will immediately pause proceedings until federal review can be completed. However, on the matter of temporary custody and asset division, I am authorized to make an interim ruling. She glanced at me. Staff Sergeant Grant, until further notice. You will retain full custody of your children. Ms. Grant is to have no unsupervised contact until cleared of federal suspicion. Additionally, financial accounts will be frozen pending investigation. I nodded once. My hands remained still on the table. Carla looked like she couldn't breathe. You can't take my kids. You can't just erase me. The judge didn't respond. She didn't have to. The law had already spoken. She gestured to the MPs. Escort Ms. Grant to the assigned federal vehicle. Do not let her near the children until DHS clearance. As they guided her from the room, she twisted to look back one last time. Her voice was hoarse. Daniel, what did you do to me? I stood, walked to my briefcase, and calmly closed it. I protected the family you tried to sell out. That's when Travis walked in. Late. Oblivious. Smiling. But the moment he saw the MPs, the closed courtroom, and Carla being led away, his face went blank. Wait, what the hell is going on? Two MPs turned toward him. Mr. Elridge? You'll be coming with us as well. He raised his hands like that would stop anything. This isn't what it looks like. But it was. Exactly what it looked like. And I wasn't done watching them fall. Travis was cuffed within 30 seconds of entering the courtroom. I didn't bother looking at him again. His protests faded behind me as I stepped out into the hallway, where two agents in suits were already preparing to debrief the press. Cameras flashed. Reporters whispered. Word of what happened had already leaked. Military. Man exposes domestic espionage. Plot mid-divorce hearing. I didn't want the spotlight. I just wanted my kids safe. By the time I got to the parking lot, my lawyer caught up with me. You just detonated a bomb in there, he said, trying to catch his breath. I nodded. And I'm not done. He blinked. There's more. I opened my phone and scrolled to a folder I hadn't shown the court. Not yet. It contained surveillance photos, Carla, Travis, 3 other men I hadn't mentioned, and a hard drive that had gone missing from a defense contractor last year. Homeland Security asked me to keep this sealed until an arrest was made, I said. But now that Travis is in custody, they'll release it. He looked at the screen and swallowed hard. That's federal prison time. Good. He exhaled like he was just realizing who he'd been working with this whole time. Daniel, I've seen a lot of divorces. But this was war. I gave a short nod. I told her she didn't want to fight a soldier. Later that day, I picked up my kids from school. My daughter ran into my arms. My son, quieter, just looked up at me and asked, Are we going to be okay? I knelt in front of him. We're better than okay, I said. We're free. We went home, where the security system I'd installed 2 years ago lit up blue for the first time, peaceful, quiet. For once, I didn't have to check the windows 3 times, or wonder if my family was being watched. That house, once filled with suspicion and betrayal, was now a fortress. Ours. That evening, Homeland Security called. The agent said, We got the confession. Carla flipped as soon as she realized Travis was cutting a deal. She gave up names, access points, even admitted to forwarding deployment information she knew he was using for leverage. I stared out the window at the sunset. So it's over. Almost. We'll need you to testify in the federal case. I'll be there, I said. Just tell me when. The agent paused. You know, most guys don't see this kind of thing coming. They blame themselves. They crawl into bottles or run. I ran for years, I replied. Afghanistan, Iraq, Africa. But I didn't run from this. When I hung up, I stood in the doorway of my kids' room and watched them sleep. She tried to burn our lives to the ground. I let her strike the match. Then I made sure the fire turned back on her. 3 days later, Carla called me from the detention center. They allowed one 5-minute call before she was transferred into federal custody. I didn't answer the first 2 times. The third time, I picked up, curious what rock bottom would sound like in her voice. Daniel. Her voice was hoarse, weak, stripped of its usual venom. Please, just hear me out. I said nothing. Silence was its own kind of justice. She took a shaky breath. I didn't know what Travis was really doing. He told me he could help us wipe out debt. Said you were hiding money from me, that he could help me. Level the playing field. I thought I was protecting myself. I finally spoke. By selling out classified movements? By exposing our kids to a criminal? She started crying, soft at first, then harder. I was angry. I felt abandoned. Every time you deployed, I thought maybe you wouldn't come back. And then when you did, you were more married to the uniform than to me. You didn't have to cheat, Carla, I said coldly. You didn't have to help someone commit espionage. She sobbed. I didn't mean for it to go that far. I didn't know until it was too late. Please, Daniel, I'm going to lose everything. They're talking about federal time. Years. You made your choices. I'll never see the kids again. Please don't let them grow up thinking I'm some kind of monster. Then maybe you shouldn't have acted like one. The line went silent for a moment. Then she whispered, I'm sorry. For all of it. I didn't think you'd fight back. I let that sink in. She thought I'd roll over. Like I had no spine. Like I hadn't survived IEDs, ambushes, and betrayal in war zones that made our marriage look like a sitcom. She forgot I was trained to outlast chaos. I gave her one sentence before I hung up. The uniform didn't break me, Carla, but you almost did. Click. Later that week, her lawyer filed a motion to reduce charges, offering full custody, financial restitution, and cooperation with the investigation in exchange for leniency. Too little. Too late. Public interest in the case exploded. Soldier exposes. Domestic spy ring during divorce. Ran across news outlets for days. Everyone wanted a piece of the story. I gave them nothing. My kids asked when they'd see their mom again. I told them the truth. Not for a while. She made some dangerous mistakes. But we're going to be okay. Because we were. Better than okay. That night, I received a letter through my attorney. Handwritten. No legal threats. No manipulation. Just 6 words scrawled in Carla's shaky pen. I didn't know who you were. She didn't. But she does now. They sentenced Carla to 8 years in federal prison. She took the plea deal. Gave up Travis. Gave up every name she'd whispered in those late-night calls when she thought I was thousands of miles away. Turns out, she was right. I was listening. Just not the way she thought. Travis got 15 years. No parole. Turns out betraying national security to impress a woman who didn't even love him wasn't such a smart investment. Their courtroom apologies were shallow, public, scripted, for sympathy. But I wasn't interested in performances anymore. I'd lived through too many real wars to entertain fakes. I sat there, unmoved, as the judge passed the sentence. Carla didn't look at me. Not once. Her attorney said she was too ashamed. I think she finally realized. This wasn't about a divorce. This wasn't about love lost. It was about honor. And she'd thrown hers away. The second she let another man hold. A secret that could have killed me. I went home to my children, who were playing in the backyard. Laughing. Unburdened. I'd built our lives back from the ashes she left behind. Therapy, new routines, quiet dinners without tension. I wasn't the broken man who walked into that courtroom 7 weeks ago. I was sharper, colder, but free. One night, I found a box in our attic. It had old wedding photos, letters, cards. She'd written when she said she loved me. I burned them all, not out of hate, but because the man she married no longer existed. At the next base function, someone asked if I ever regretted not seeing the signs earlier. No, I told them. I regret giving her the benefit of the doubt. She knew exactly what she was doing. She didn't just fall for Travis. She chose him. She chose lies, danger, betrayal, because it felt easier than facing the loneliness she claimed I caused. But I never left her emotionally. Not once. She was the one who walked out long before she packed her bags. Weeks later, I got a letter from her again. This one was different. Longer. Full of desperation. Full of grief. They call me a traitor in here. I guess I am. But not just to the country. I betrayed the one man who would have died for me. And now he won't even speak my name. She begged me to let her talk to the kids. To explain. To say sorry. I didn't respond. Because sorry doesn't erase betrayal. It doesn't bring back the nights. I stared at the ceiling wondering why my wife flinched when I came home early. It doesn't rewrite the surveillance footage of her handing over documents that could have cost me my life. She destroyed a soldier and expected him to rebuild her. But that's not my mission anymore. Now, I protect what matters. My family. My peace. And the one thing I have left to ask you is this. If someone betrayed you not just as a spouse, but as a human being, would you ever forgive them? Or would you do what I did and walk away forever?